Let's get right to our panel. Joining us now is Joy Reid, who's managing editor of thegrio.com, and James Peterson, who is director of Africana Studies and a professor at Lehigh University. Joy, the doctor in Washington, and I was here when she was speaking at the very moment she said those words, she's caused quite a stir because some people have objected to her suggesting that she's meddling in politics when her role should remain as medical director of that hospital. What's your view?
Well, that sentiment that she had, I think it expresses the exasperation and frustration that people on the front lines of this war, who are the only people who care anymore, right? It's the people whose children are being blown away, the people whose family members are being blown away, the people who are afraid to give somebody a pink slip because it could mean they come back and massacre everyone in the workplace. And what she said, the only thing I would object to, there's not something inherently wrong with Americans. We're the most violent country on earth. We murder 15,000 people in this country a year. But those video games are in Japan. There are violent video games in England, where my in-laws live. There are violent video games all over the world. Why are we different? We have the means. We are awash in guns. We're awash in weapons of war, which, used as directed, are meant to kill people. AR-15s, all of these automatic, they're not meant to kill deer. Used as directed, they are meant to kill humans. And we're very good at it.
We are. Professor Peterson, the Pope issued a statement this week explicitly calling on his flock, and I'm quoting him, to meddle in politics. In fact, he calls politics one of the highest forms of charity because it serves the common good. And to his point, Professor, if people from all walks of life do not speak up, how are we going to make any progress? I mean, I'm reminded of what Dr. Martin Luther King said in objecting to what was happening to Vietnam, where he said silence is betrayal.
That's right. And silence on the issues of violence, particularly gun violence in America at this point in time, is betrayal. And that's silence at the political level, coming from congressfolk and elected people, as well as silence from citizens, concerned or not. Because one thing that we learned over the last couple of years is that this can strike any demographic. It can have impact in any community. And it's random and arbitrary the ways in which it crops up. Joy's right here. The people who are criticizing Dr. Orlowski around politics are just dead wrong. There's nothing political about her statement. Now, is she a concerned citizen? Yes. Is she someone who has had to experience the awful consequences of gun violence, that is treating gunshot wounds? Those are great surgeons that she's working with there, but what they've had to deal with and what they've seen just out of this particular tragedy, not to mention what they encountered just being a hospital in D.C. in the first place, has shown her that we've got to start to have a different conversation. We have to continue to be vigilant about these particular situations, but we got to have a different kind of conversation and some action around some of the policies that make us the nation that we are.
And Joy, isn't it the case that the reason for why people like doctors, highly skilled doctors, feel compelled to say something is because Congress is silent? It's paralyzed.
Exactly. You hit the point exactly, Martin. The people who should be meddling in politics, look, there is total consensus on things like background checks. But the people who are meddling, there's a faction in this country that no level of depravity, no level of sickness, no level of murder and mass murder will move them off of their political point that they will not brook one change in our gun laws. And if anyone tries it, as they did in Colorado, where they just pass simple sanity, then they will try to punish them and find 9,000 people to come out and vote in a special election to unseat them. The people who have passion on this issue are the ones meddling in politics, because 90% of us don't want our children to have to face mass murder, don't want to go to work afraid of any random person because they play video games that they can act out their fantasy or their sickness or their mental illness by killing us. I mean, they're the ones that are meddling in politics.
Absolutely.
That's right.
Joy Reid and Dr. James Peterson, thank you both.